Like I've mentioned elsewhere, there were more extraterrestrial races here on Earth during these times than just humans and Syrians, but to keep focused on our story as much as possible, I have just mentioned them in passing. However, some of these extraterrestrials that people see even today are not so, but actually native to Earth. They were simply earlier experiments in genetic engineering and manipulation, experiments that later were abandoned by Lord Ea and the Syrians, and others before them. This is the reason people see reptilians coming out of caves, or otherwise seen near water. Some of these beings consider themselves being the true owners of this planet because they were here before Homo sapiens. Most of them still live underground. These however are not the races we are going to talk about here. Over the many millennia Mu existed, much was happening behind the scenes, unbeknownst to the Lemurians, who lived their own lives for a long time period. One thing that happened was that the Titans who had survived the destruction of Old Terra by hiding deep inside the planet now came back to the surface. They must have had for long studied the Lemurians by nano-traveling, today we call it remote viewing, and saw that they were practicing the religion of the Mother Goddess, and the Titans felt they wanted to be part of that society. The first meeting between the humans and the Titans, the latter large in stature, must have been a shock to the humans. Some of the Titans could be very tall. However, when the humans understood that the giants came in peace and they could telepathically communicate with humans, they were welcomed into the tribes. During many thousands of years the Titans helped the humans gain more real knowledge and enhanced their abilities to connect with the 96% bypassing the grid. This could be done by locating the holes in the grid and disappear through them and into the goddess universe while still staying grounded in their bodies here on Earth. They also learned how to bypass the Syrian monitoring system so that those who watched their progress could not detect them. So in all, with help from the Titans who unfortunately were now very few in numbers, some Lemurian tribes learned how to become truly multidimensional and how to travel through the dimensions and into the 96%. These tribes flourished and prospered in ways that have not been experienced since then. While interacting with the Titans, some shamans, high priests and high priestesses, and even some regular men and women of the tribes, learned that they were older souls, and not created by Ea. They were trapped Titans and Namliu, who had still been around in spirit when the Syrians locked the planet in and created the entrapment system. These souls were detected and captured by the Syrians, using technology to do so, and threw them into their recycle system together with the less advanced souls, and those of the fire. Of course, both the Titan and the Namliu souls, the older ones, were also of the fire. The Titans, however, at this time did not tell them about the amnesia trap and the true mechanism of how souls are recycled, afraid of the consequences of doing so. Although the Lemurians quickly increased their numbers to eventually reach around 63 million souls, the planet was still not populated enough to be a problem to control for the Syrians when using their technology. Now, when the planet has reached 7 billion people and the grid is full of holes, the Dark Lords have lost their tight control and it's possible to escape from this trap, but at the time of Mu, this was very difficult. Although there were holes in the grid already then, a soul of a dying body could be detected with electronic devices set up outside and on the planet, and the soul was being prepared to be recycled. If the Titans would have told the humans at that time, it could have created a riot followed by a devastating war, one humans couldn't win. Afterwards, even tighter security measures would have had to be taken by the Overlords. The Titans most certainly wanted to avoid a warlike conflict, knowing the Syrians, and from have had the horrific experiences with them in ancient days when Old Terra was destroyed. The Titans arrived in the later part of the Lemurian era, but a growing area of Mu took on their teachings and started practicing the religion of the Mother Goddess, quite similar to how it is done in the Orion Empire. However, Mu was a huge continent, and although it could be looked at as one huge country without boundaries, it still had its tribes, who developed individually. Also, tribes from Mu traveled by boat to the American continent in the east and the Asian continent in the west. Therefore, not everybody had the chance to take part of the teachings of the Titans, and this showed to be devastating for the whole Mu civilization. If further interference hadn't happened, things may have turned out differently, but there was simply not enough time and the Titans were too few to be able to create an impact across the entire Mu continent. It was like hanging on to the last straw, but hope is the last thing that leaves us. The saying goes. It's probably not different with the beings from the stars. There were other giants who had a great influence on the Mu cultures in other parts of the massive continent, and these influences were not always in the best interest of the tribes. This time, the perpetrators were not only the Syrians.